Hi, welcome to your reading. I have your spread, I have your notes. Let's get into it. We're going to start with the Querent card. That's the card at the middle. This is the card that represents you, and this is the energy that you're bringing throughout the reading. So when we're talking about the Querent card at the center of the cross, we're talking about you, where you are in life right now. And it's a good one. It's the Eight of Pentacles. Eight of Pentacles is the apprentice, the student, someone who is at a point in their life when they're working really hard and they're studying and they're practicing their craft. Sometimes, because it's an apprentice card, they're working under someone. Now, in a modern sense, we can think of things like watching YouTube videos and researching a topic so that we can get better at a craft. So it doesn't necessarily have to be a physical apprenticeship. However, sometimes good advice, if you're in an Eight of Pentacles time in your life, is to find some kind of mentor or to be in connection with other people that are learning the same thing that you're learning. Now, there's going to be some other Pentacles stuff in this reading. So I'm going to get this hair out of my face and I'm going to tell you about the Pentacles. The Pentacles are, yes, money, and there's definitely some money energy in here. So I'm not going to, diminish that or negate the fact that, yes, these Pentacles are definitely talking about money. But what's important for you to remember, and many people on this planet, is that the Pentacles are not just money. They are also our home, our garden, our body, anything that's ruled by Venus, essentially, because we have those beautiful Venusian stars right there. So is it your bank account? For sure, because you certainly value your bank account. But, this Libra, like Venusian, it's also like your makeup bag and everything that's in it. Yes, your purse has money in it, but it also has lip gloss and your cell phone. You know what I mean? Maybe not your purse, but somebody's purse. That's kind of the idea. So when we're in Eight of Pentacles, we're thinking about eventually building our wealth. But what we understand about the Eight of Pentacles chapter in our life is that we're never going to get to the full manifestation of Pentacle energy if we don't put in the work right now. Now, what that could mean sometimes is that the invitation is to add a new skill to your toolkit so that you can grow your earning capacity. However, because Pentacles are not just our money, it also could mean diving into a creative practice that uses the skills that you desire. For example, and I'm saying this because there's a lot of this in the reading, if you like community building and you like connecting with others and you like educating others, then maybe some kind of design skill around putting that education into a deliverable media, could be something like it's a valuable skill, like graphic design, social media, making posters, collaging, using flour to put up posters, stuff like that. Like these are tangible Pentacle skills, right? I'm working with my hands, I'm making things, right? Very Eight of Pentacles to be making stuff that help me reach the goals around what I value, Venus. And the bonus in that is that the universe rewards us when we move towards the things that we value. It's kind of the lesson. Okay. And we are going to talk about that more because you do have a lot more Pentacles in your spread. So we're not going to drop it, but I just wanted to let you know that Eight of Pentacles stuff, it's about the stuff that you're doing when you can't sleep. It's about the hobbies that you initiate that are going to add value to your life and to the lives of people around you. And it's an 8 card. Not the only 8 that we have here, I don't think. Maybe I'm crazy. No, we do have another 8. 8 is the infinity number. 8 is the dimension when we're talking about the second dimension, the third dimension. When you get to the eighth dimension, all possibilities are available to you. That's why the apprentice in the Eight of Pentacles spends hours and hours trying to perfect the perfect pentacle. It's opening up options for him. He knows that if he puts in the work now, he's going to have more options later. And it's an invitation to acknowledge that what you value is important. So where you spend your energy, if you're spending your energy somewhere that's not valuable to you, you're draining it. Okay, that's the long and short of that. That's the whole Eight of Pentacles. We spend a lot of time on this because it is you and the moment that you're in right now. It's a little bit of the universe saying, hey, come here, like, come be a student of your purpose, essentially, of what you, like, are on fire about. Okay, speaking of fire, this is what crosses you. And we don't have to spend too much time on this because everybody knows that this card, the Tower card, everybody knows what the Tower card is in the tarot. The Tower card is about chaos, destruction, burning everything down to build something new. Now, that's good for you, actually, because you know, which we'll talk about later in the spread, that some things do need to be burned down because the way that they were designed is not appropriate. So things burning down around you, it's actually like, yes, it's scary, but you know better, like in your soul and even in your logical mind, that than to believe that everything that burns down means the end of the world. You do understand that things burning down is often the beginning of a new world. Does it make it any easier to be in the crossfire of that? Of course not. When you're in an emergency, which we are in a national emergency right now, it is not any amount of solace to say to yourself, oh yeah, well, you know, it's got to burn down before it can be built back up. You know, that is some, excuse my French, like rich white people shit to say. It's very accelerationist, right? To be like, oh, well, we got to burn it down. If you're in the building, then burning it down actually like doesn't sound too great. It's like a panic, right? So even though you know that this is what is supposed to happen for a new world to happen, you are in the building. It's scary. There's a lot of chaos. There's a lot of fear in your body. It's Scorpio, which means the rebirth, right? It means that you die and you are reborn. And the two most terrifying experiences that we have as human beings are when we are at our moment of death and when we are coming through the birth canal. It's about fear, right? Now, we are going to talk a little bit later in your reading about how you can use your fear and the ways that you kind of show up when you're afraid. And then I will say one more thing about the Tower is that there's often the iconography of a crown falling off, which is very much like subverting the idea of a king. So my heart goes out to you. These are incredibly challenging times. So this here is kind of honoring. It's kind of, you know, you're in your little studio here working and toiling and kind of seeing like, okay, what skills can I build and what work can I do that's going to help me feel the true nature of the value in my life, right? And give my life meaning, help me build wealth in this, you know, chaotic time, all of that. And you're just in your studio, and outside, you know, buildings are falling down all around you. You know, like people are getting picked up, the economy's tanking, there's new legislation every day about who you're allowed to be and if you exist or not. You know what I mean? And you just have to like, okay, I'm in my studio right now. I'm in a safe place in this moment. I'm breathing. I'm working creatively. I'm building my future. Like, that is kind of what you're in right now. This is how it shows up. And you'll get a photo, obviously. You've already seen the photo because you're watching this in the future. But this is what it is. It's crossing you. So it's like you are this Eight of Pentacles and the Tower is crossing you. And it's that battle of continuing on in life and the chaos of the chapter of the universe that we're in right now. It is heavy. It's going to be heavy for most of the reading. It's heavy. It's tough stuff, I have to say. But it is my greatest honor to be virtually holding your hand through it. The universe is on your side and not on their side. That's why the tower falls. That's why the crown is removed from the head of the person that is falling from the building, because the universe is not on their side. We are in an arc toward justice. And on that note, speaking of justice, let's talk about what crowns you. And speaking of crowns, this is the Justice card. So in the Celtic Cross spread, what we're looking at when we're talking about what's crowning you, what's above the things that you and the thing that's crossing you, we are talking about this kind of gift that you have, a value that you bring to your community and to the world, something that's really unique and special about you, the thing that's going to keep your head held high, keep your crown on straight as you walk through the trials ahead, right? So that you're not crawling and slogging, you're going through it with your head held high because of this quality. In your case, the quality within you that keeps your crown on, that makes you such a gift to the world and to the people around you, is the Justice card. And the Justice is about accountability, literal justice, social justice, knowing the difference between right and wrong, and the communication piece, right? Very Libra, we're back at Venus. It's about what we value, right? Yeah, it has Libra right there. Not all decks have the astrological correspondence, but this has a little Libra symbol for you. And we were just talking about Venus. Yes, it is our money because we value money, but we also value fairness. The scale in this, when we were using coins and we would have to like punch coins to see if they were real, right? If you were going to a market, you can imagine like something a little more ancient. Let's like go to Mesopotamia. Let's travel back in time. You would weigh something against something else to determine the value, and that is how you would have commerce, is with the scale. That's why the scales are also part of money. Not because, money was there, because as you may or may not know, like you would also maybe be weighing the grain against salt. And salt was much more valuable than gold at certain points in history, right? You would be weighing a spice against a bundle of fruit, right? Stuff like that. It's not always money. It's about how we determine value. Just to say, this is a masterclass in Pentacles because we have more Pentacles to come. And we have this beautiful Libra justice situation where we're kind of asking, which I didn't write this down in my notes, but it's kind of coming to me now. What is the value of money in a world like this? Yes, I would love to have the resources to get somewhere. I would love to have the ability to support myself and my friends and not have to, be in a housing emergency. I would love that. But what is the value of money in a situation where extortion is the norm, right? I guess that's a little bit of a tangent, but the other thing about justice that I'll just warn you is that sometimes when we are crowned by justice, we are so obsessed with accountability and being good and being perfect that we forget to take risks. So that's just a little bit of a, yes, we love justice. Justice comes into our lives, like you come into people's lives and you look around and you say, okay, how can I help? Where can I cut away the things that we don't need, right? You come into communities and you're like, whew, speaking very sword-like. You have the articulation, right? The irony of me not being able to articulate the word articulation. All of that, so valuable, so pentacles to be able to do those things. And because you know that you're going to hold yourself to such a high standard, you may speak too carefully and not let your rage in. This actually, wow, I haven't thought about this in so long, but there's a reason that justice carries a sword. In every justice card, you see a sword. That's because true justice is not afraid of violence. True justice is not afraid to offend people. True justice is not a people pleaser. Justice says what needs to be said. So that's a little bit of an invitation that I'm feeling, is like, you know, don't be so afraid to look mean. Don't be so afraid to look kind of dumb. Take the risk. Move through with the confidence of the divine, like, justice power that you've been given. It's air, right? If you ever feel like you're about to say something too crazy, and this is very air, just take a deep breath. And honestly, this is a life hack. Before you say something, you can actually say, I don't know if I should say this, but, and it kind of gives them, whoever's hearing it, an invitation to hold you accountable, which you love, because you have justice crowning you. You want self-accountability. You want people to hold you accountable, but you also want to say the truth, no matter how hard it is. So maybe something like that might work for you. It's like saying, like, I don't know if I should say this, but here's the truth. And you know that you should say it, first of all. You just don't know if they want to hear it at the end of the day. Now, that's the top. Let's talk about the bottom, which is your roots. So whereas something that crowns you is how you stand tall, the root keeps you grounded. This is what your root is, what is beneath you, below you. It keeps you centered, and it can sometimes drag you down. There's kind of a blessing and a curse with both the crown and the root. Like we were saying with the justice, sometimes we can not be as honest as we want to be because we're afraid of hurting others, right? The root has a similar situation with the Six of Cups reversed. The Six of Cups upright is a very beautiful card. I'll just let you look at the symbolism of these two young kids. I love this one because it looks like it's in a scrapbook because of the paperclip. And I like to scrapbook. So that's like a little nod to the way that art is archival. Long story short. And when it's in the reverse, we're talking about a loss of innocence. Because the Six of Cups is all about, the six is a love number. The Six of Cups is all about a simpler time, a place where we had so much love and it was so easy to just give someone flowers and ask them to be our lover. And it was just like, everything is like so hunky-dory and life is easy and beautiful. It's about the feelings we feel. Cups are our feelings when we are young and in love, right? And when it's in the reverse, dun dun dun, it's about like, ugh, I miss that time. I can never go back. Like, I've grown and now like I'm in this new situation and this, like, I'm jaded. And here's the thing about the root. Having something like the Six of Cups reverse at your root means you kind of have a pattern, we don't like that word, of believing that if you think in reverse, like if you go back to a simpler time, if you go back to what was lost, that you could reclaim it. And the relationship to what could have been, like a different timeline, a relationship to like what could have happened if this had happened, or like how, like if we, like kind of sliding doors, like if I made this choice and then I went that way. And it's a generational pattern too, because like families will do this with Six of Cups. Like, we used to be like this, and this was what was available to us, and like now we blah blah blah, because 6 is very we. It's about love. We. And what I will say with the 6 of Cups too, just while we're on the subject, the idea, I'm a Virgo, I gotta tell it like it is, the idea that the love and light and joy that we either felt when we were a child or never had the opportunity to feel when we were a child, that stuff is accessible to us now. But it is hiding behind the wounds that we cannot feel, like we can't overcome. And it's cups, so it's all emotional. Now, to have that at the root means that coming back to that over and over again makes you feel comfortable. It makes you feel like you have a center to go back to, of this familiar, either a memory of an actual moment, an actual year or chapter in your life when you were young, or that kind of like ghost memory of what could have been. And it's like really in here. So if you want to do some witchcraft, which I advise, you can work with healing your inner child at the root chakra, which is your butthole, your genitals, your groin, the area between your legs. I'm not trying to be too forward, but I'm just saying, because it's, how could you ever move past something like that? Ever. It's a part of your identity. It's a part of how you move in community. It's a part of your justice work, right? However, how can we think of, and I'm just realizing now how this relates to you. And you already know how it relates to you because you're you and you know it. But just a moment of silence. I'm so sorry. How can we, look back at the joy and the light, or the lack of the joy and the light, and, integrate the grief, right? Love the grief, love the inner child, this is a thing, and I believe this, not everybody does. So this is why it's kind of hard to give advice like this, because it's so woo-woo. And it's like impossible to tell someone like, oh yeah, you can just heal your trauma by twerking. I don't think it's that easy. I do think that there are some things that we can move energetically with our mind. We can understand, I'm the person I'm meant to be. I love myself. I move with love. I'm worthy. All of that. We can believe that logically. We can even feel it in our cups, in our body, in our emotions, right? But when it gets to the root, we may have trouble actually integrating it into the places where the trauma happened. So maybe there's some like meditation, energy work, grounding, connecting to the land, like really moving that air that you have in your head where you're always right, and everything, like you have this machine in your mind that's like a very justice card on your crown, right? How can we move that air down? And instead of working with it logically, work with it energetically. The stretching, the dancing, Ooh, the dancing. Stuff like that. To move some of that stuck energy in the root. And then other things will start opening up energetically so that when you come to the memory, you don't get that Six of Cups feeling of like, oh, it'll never be the same. Or like, oh, in like downturn, right? Because that's the joy and light that you're feeling coming back down to the root instead of evenly distributing amongst the body. Short story long on that one. And now we can talk about this was all about you. Now we're gonna start kind of getting into the circumstances of your life. First, we have kind of your recent past. This is the things that have been going on lately that you're kind of moving out of, but are still like in your energetic field. And it's the Eight of Cups. So speaking of moving on, Eight of Cups is about walking away. You look at 8 cups. 8 cups is a lot. And as we remember from our little lesson with the 8 of Pentacles, the 8 is the infinity number. So it's unlimited options. So you have cups that represent unlimited options emotionally. And you choose to walk away from that. Why would you choose that? Well, one, because the moon is up there, and the moon is psychic, watery, maternal, mysterious, and the moon is calling you. The moon is saying, those, and we'll talk about this soon actually, those cups are not yours. They're not for you. What is for you is adventure. And that's why you go to the mountains. So you go from, and this is kind of what's funny about the Eight of Cups too, is that it's like this card that, yes, it's about emotion, but it's also about leaving emotions behind. It's about saying, like, either I could stay here and I could stare at my feelings, my joy, my trauma, my sadness, my gladness. I could take stock of all of my feelings and just keep moving these cups around and filling them and emptying them out and passing them out to people and getting them filled and all that, right? Or I could turn around and I could go on a fucking hike. I could touch grass. I could be a version of myself that is totally immersed in nature and see what's on the other side of the mountain. What cups are over there? What cups are available to me when I acknowledge that I can do better than 8? I can do 9, which is the ultimate satisfaction. I can do 10, which is all my wishes come true. And it could be on the other side of the mountain. Now, it could not. This is the thing. The cups will be there when you get back. If you go on a hike and you go on an adventure and you say, I'm not going to sit in my emotions right now. I'm actually, because that's the thing, is we do have to sit with our feelings, right? But at some point it becomes torture. We're just using the feelings to flagellate ourselves, right? We gotta get moving. We have to really become present in our body. Because otherwise, like, the thing is, whether it's water or wine, would you want to sit there and drinking glasses of wine by yourself? Probably not, right? That's especially if it's every night, right? This is a great card for an invitation to overcome addiction or something like that. I don't know if that's resonating, but if it's water, it's like you need to move and get thirsty. You know what I mean? Like sweat and replenish, like come into the cycles of your body and of nature, right? Very much a similar embodiment piece that we were talking about. And these emotional cards are even pointing to the physical body, which is very similar to the Pentacles, which we have more of later. And it's kind of saying, like, you know, if you go and you get to the other side of the mountain and there's not 9 cups there, there's not 10 cups there, you can just walk back. Your feelings will always be there. All of the patterns and all of the emotions and all of the, which, you know, we'll get to that. But all of the rumination, that's still going to be there when you're done going out and being present for the right now, not the past. There is plenty of trauma to work through right now. Do not feel guilty if you need to put the past in a jar, put the cap on, write on it things that happened to me in the past that still affect my triggers and make it challenging to be a person in a body and be in community. Put it on the shelf and then come back to it another time. There's no shame in that. It's not avoidance. It is self-care. Okay? Okay. Now let's talk about what's coming for you in the future. And this is good news, because remember how we were talking about pentacles earlier and your body and your money and things that you value? Well, now we have a 6 of Pentacles. 6 is the love number, as we learned in the 6 of Cups. And the 6 of Pentacles means you have so much of something. Maybe it's money, maybe it's housing, maybe it's a garden, maybe it's your knowledge about something, maybe it is bed sheets, jackets, water bottles, stuff like that, tangible things. You have so much of it that you get to distribute it to other people. Bring people in with love. Now, this can be triggering because we feel like we are in lack. We feel in this society, by design, that we have nothing to give. That keeps us from giving. It works. Oh, I can't. I don't have anything to give. Do you have any time? Do you have any grace? Do you have any listening space? Do you have any jars on your shelf that have trauma that happened to me earlier that still affect my triggers and how I feel in a body and how I affect community on the shelf that you could share about with me and help me? Something tangible that you are able to give. This is why it's empowering, is because you're a justice person. And so if you don't feel like you have anything to give, you don't reach out. You don't bring in the people and the touch and the love and all of the stuff that you get with that, like the Venus, earthy, pentacle stuff, the stuff that we need. And when we're in 6, we need it like in a way that like we have to feel reciprocal in order to get it, right? So let's reframe what we think of as worthy, right? Let's reframe what we think of as like something that someone would desire to receive from us, right? You know what I do? I'm big into making cards. I'm not rich. I'm essentially homeless. I have my art bag and I make these really intricate. They take me so long and they are so special, and they have like callbacks to stuff that's happened in our lives, and sometimes they're interactive. You can open them in fun ways or like move them around. It's a bunch of paper, bro. It's literally a bunch of paper. And it feels so good to give them to people I love that have done something for me, that have been there for me, that I care about, that care about me. And they feel really good receiving it because they know that I put a lot of time and effort and talent into it. And it's just paper. This is an inspirational speech about how you can show up when you have nothing. Okay? In this card, actually, this one's it has the scales there, which we've been talking about, which is about like you're not always measuring gold against something. Sometimes you're measuring other things. In other decks, you may see like a lord giving to people that look like they're in poverty, and it's very much about the power dynamic. And yes, the original cards were illustrated in a different time, but The time that they were illustrated in is very similar to the time we're in now, especially metaphysically. So, what I would warn against is kind of taking the power dynamics that you see in the world that you're familiar with because you're so into justice and you're so into accountability, taking those power dynamics and like projecting them onto interpersonal relationships. Let's understand that in the same way that you would really appreciate if someone like brought you a taco, or if you like how you would really appreciate if someone showed you how to make something that was really important to them, you'd appreciate that. You have a big heart. You're justice minded. You have this emotional capacity, right? Just think about like there are people in the world that feel the same way that you do about what's important and what they value. Short story long on that one again. Okay, so now we've talked all about this. We've been in the cross area. Now we're just going to kind of speed around through the rest of this because I have been yapping and we are a little over on time. Sometimes it's 30 minutes. Sometimes it's more because I know how to yap. One thing about me, especially if I kind of know you, forget about it. I'm going to keep going. Let's talk about your advice. So I've been giving you advice this whole time because I'm a Virgo, but this is the advice from the tarot, and it's the 7 of Cups. Now, we talked about the 8 of Cups recently, and here's kind of the story. I'm teaching you tarot. I regret it, but I can't stop. It's like, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 in the cups, just like in any other suit. So the 7 comes before the 8, which we had earlier in your recent past, when you looked at your cups and you decided, I'm going to try something new. I'm leaving this behind. Congratulations on deciding that, by the way, in whatever way you had to do it. What comes before the 7 and what comes before the 8 in the tarot is the 7, which is all of these illusions. It's a bunch of different things. Now, one of these cups, if you grab it, is actually going to have like water or wine in it. It's actually going to have what you desire, right? It is. But if you grab any of the other ones, you might burst into flames. And then what happens is you go through the 7 of Cups so many times that you accumulate 8 cups. And you lose track of why you were even grabbing cups in the first place. Because you had one desire, but now you have 8 cups. Does that make sense? Maybe not. It's a little alchemical. It's a little heady for the advice, which the long and short of it is careful what you wish for and careful which cup you grab. There's going to be a lot of opportunities available to you, especially because you've been in your 8 of Pentacles era. You're working on stuff. You're building skills. You're building community. You're learning what you value and acting on it. Lots of, fast moving things going on. And tower moment, everything around us is falling apart, right? So, in the midst of all that, just take a breath. 7 of Cups is also about paranoia and who we can trust and who we cannot. And think about, how can I trust myself? Now, your environment is the 4 of Swords reversed. So let's talk about this. Because we've been talking about how we become a little too comfortable with our grief. We start putting our grief before our joy. We start putting our past pain before our present pleasures. We've kind of been talking about that a little bit. In the cuppy kind of way. Now let's think about it in the Swords kind of way. Because the upright, I call this the PTSD card. Because what happens is this person is dreaming about their death in war. And we have a cute little neon sign right there, which I love. I love this deck. It's so pretty. Well, here's the dill pickle. It's in the reverse, which means your environment, and I think this might be people around you. It's definitely your thinking. You just cannot ruminate any longer or you'll explode. And I think that your community wants you to be present. I think that you need yourself to be more present in reality. I think that the opportunities that are becoming available to you demand your presence. Your environment cannot tolerate any more of you going inside of your brain and staying there. It must have your brain here, speaking especially, because the swords are how we speak, how we think, and how we learn. Your community and you and your opportunities need your voice, your justice, your sword, your clear, true voice, speaking truth to power, asking for what you need, being brave, right? Accepting accountability, treating people with the same accountability you expect from in your own life. That kind of, sword energy, Mercury energy. Now that we said Mercury, it's also playful. It's not always mean. If we were looking at Queen of Swords, I'd be telling you to be a bitch right now. But we're looking at the Four of Swords reversed. And that means stop taking everything so seriously. Let's get a little... and it might help you speak a little more truth to... You're sarcastic. I know you are. To lean in to that sarcasm without using it as a tool for your authenticity. It is a scary time to be honest about how you feel. Just going to acknowledge that. And then we have your hopes and fears, which is the Four of Pentacles. We're back at the Pentacles. Okay, we took a brief break to talk about our thoughts and our feelings. Now we're back, baby. Because all that emotional stuff that we're talking about you being present, is all for your pentacle stuff to go off without a hitch. It's so you can be in your garden flourishing, so that you can bloom like a flower and everyone you love around you can bloom like a flower, all of that stuff, right? All of that is so that you can grow and be a big, beautiful flower or ear of corn or a carrot. So whatever you want to be in your garden, you get to decide. So we're back around to these pentacles because we just did all of that emotional work, right? We acknowledged that we have plenty to give to the people we love, and that's in our near future. We're walking away from the stuff that no longer serves us, and we're going on an adventure, and we are putting some of our past on the shelf so we can be super present. We can be the voice of justice in our life and the lives of others. We're watching out for illusions. We're being sure that we only take the cup that we need, that we take a deep breath before we make a decision, stuff like that. We integrate some playfulness. We wake up from the dream of the hard things that happened to us in the Four of Swords. And now we're at the Four of Pentacles. And we'll talk about four because I have been bringing a lot of numbers into this. The reason that this is the Four of Swords is because what makes you feel stable is the rumination about what happened. That's what we do. We look at what happened to us and we're trying to predict. And this is essentially falling asleep and feeling comfortable in our sleep and having those nightmares because we were at war for so long that it's what feels stable and comfortable to us. And it's in the reverse, which means your environment is no longer accepting that from you and no longer giving that to you, which is good news. That's not something you have to do. That's something your environment is helping you with. The Four of Pentacles, the stability comes from 2 feet on a pentacle, holding a pentacle in our arms and having a pentacle on our head. It's saying, I have the money. I have the house. I have everything that I need. Here's the thing. This is why it's a hope and a fear. Because you and I know a little secret about capitalism. And that is sometimes when we get what we think we want, it turns out to be more responsibility. When we become more stable, when we get more money, when we get the housing, it comes with additional costs. It comes with additional problems. And we may start, as money comes through, to mirror reflect the greed that we see in the world to hold on to it, which is really what the Four of Pentacles is about. Is like, if I hold on to all of my resources, I will be safe. Here, I'll turn around so you can see. If I cling tightly and I step on these pentacles and no one can get it, I will be safe. Everything will be fine. No one can hurt me. That's the story of a Four of Pentacles. Does that sound true to you? No. You and I both know that. But we also want to be stable. We also want to be financially stable. We want to feel abundance. We know in our heart that we would distribute that, because you got Six of Pentacles in your near future. Yeah, of course. You wouldn't be greedy. But there's a difference between having 4 pentacles and having 6. Sorry, I hope that wasn't too loud. So, that's a hope you have, is that I'm stable, and a fear you have that you'll hold on to it tightly and that it will change you. And I also am kind of feeling that, like, that might be how you feel about people in your life. That maybe you see some abundance and you see how they behave and you're like, oh, I hope that never happens to me. But here we have the good news, the best news of all, which is the outcome of your reading, which is, if we take all of this advice and we let the universe wash over us, we will achieve the Page of Pentacles. Pentacles again? Astra, you gotta be kidding me. Yes, we have Pentacles again. This is the page. So you know how we were talking about how every suit goes 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. After 10, you get a page. A page is a messenger. And, you know, you're starting here, which is an apprentice. You're learning, right? You're going through all of these things so that you can be a guardian, a messenger, and a distributor of pentacles. There's a little good news, bad news in this. Because if it were a queen or a king, it'd be like, oh, you're going to be rich. You're going to pay all your bills all the time and never be late. And you're going to be able to, like, get a house for your mom or whatever. That's king or queen. The goal right now and what's coming for us is Page of Pentacles. And here's why it's such a huge blessing. And this is like hippy dippy socialist bullshit from me. It's my perspective on it. What the page does is it brings the money in and it sends the money out to where it's needed. It's literally mutual aid. And it's kind of taking from the rich and giving to the poor. It's being someone who has enough responsibility to get the pentacles together, but enough savvy, enough, like, you're not jaded. You don't see the pentacles as power or as oppression, right? You see it as a resource to be distributed and to be valued. And what that does is it brings you all of this connection, that messenger energy. Like, there are different ways to be taken care of than paying for a home care facility. Like, if you have a multi-generational family, then you have a care facility in your home, right? That's kind of how Pentacles is thinking. It's not thinking, especially Page of Pentacles, it's not thinking like, oh, I'm going to pay for daycare for my kid. Instead, it's thinking, I'm going to build community where people are caring for children, and I stabilize that community with what I contribute and they bring what they contribute, right? It's the evolution of the 10 of Pentacles, which is the multi-generational household. The evolution is you are a puppeteer of that. You are a facilitator of that kind of community. What's exciting about that is we need people in this world with big brains, big personalities, sharp tongues, wise words, all of these skills that you're going to be building to bring us into that kind of routine, to bring us into that kind of thought process. In your heart, you have that because you have this unconventional, flowy vibe. You're actually not really like that, but like when it comes to Pentacles, you kind of are. You have values that exceed the structure. So it's a flow, right? It's a rhythm. And I love that outfit for you if you ever do decide to take something like that on. Come on now. So that's your reading. This was spiritual work, as you know and as you can feel. You just did a little bit of witchcraft with me, so be sure to drink lots of water. You can always come back to this reading if you'd like. Pay attention to your dreams for the next few days, and I'm really grateful to read for you, and I'm wishing you all of the bravery and love and kindness and support that you deserve. Bye.